Hello, welcome to Imperial Truth, your source for honest and clear reporting. Here is the news for March 19, 2025.
Chinese electric vehicle manufacturer BYD has unveiled a groundbreaking fast charging system capable of charging electric vehicles within 5 minutes, approximately the same amount of time it takes to fill a gas vehicle tank. This addresses a common concern about EV range and charging durations, which normally last about 20 to 25 minutes. To support this innovation, BYD plans to establish over 4,000 charging stations across China, enhancing the infrastructure for its customers. This development positions BYD as a strong competitor to Tesla, whose standard charging rate is currently 20 minutes. The introduction of such rapid charging capabilities could accelerate the adoption of electric vehicles by alleviating range anxiety among potential buyers. However, the widespread implementation of fast charging technology raises concerns about potential impacts on power grids, necessitating infrastructure upgrades to accommodate increased demand.
Israeli airstrikes in Gaza have resulted in the death of 5 senior Hamas military leaders and hundreds of civilians, effectively ending a 2-month ceasefire. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated that these strikes were a response to Hamas's rejection of ceasefire extension proposals and warned of intensified actions if necessary. Hamas, which currently holds 59 hostages, accused Israel of undermining permanent peace negotiations but did not threaten immediate retaliation. The resumption of hostilities has exacerbated the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, with hospitals overwhelmed and aid deliveries halted. International mediators have condemned the assault, urging both sides to return to negotiations to prevent further loss of life. The conflict has already resulted in over 48,000 Palestinian deaths since its inception, highlighting the urgent need for a sustainable resolution.
The Social Security Administration has announced that it will now require stricter identity verification for all new and existing beneficiaries. This means individuals must complete in-person or online ID checks, eliminating the previous phone-based verification system. The SSA says the change aims to combat identity theft and fraudulent claims, which they state have cost the government billions in improper payments. However, the new requirement has sparked concerns, particularly among elderly and disabled individuals who may struggle with digital access or transportation to SSA offices. Advocacy groups warn that the policy could delay benefits for those who lack proper identification or face difficulties navigating the verification process. Many low-income beneficiaries who rely on Social Security for basic needs fear that these new hurdles will create unnecessary hardships.
Mount Spur, a volcano located near Anchorage, Alaska's largest city, is exhibiting signs of increased unrest, raising concerns about a potential eruption in the coming weeks or months. The Alaska Volcano Observatory has reported elevated earthquake activity, ground deformations, and newly activated fumaroles at the volcano's crater peak. These indicators suggest that the likelihood of an eruption has increased, prompting authorities to closely monitor the situation. An eruption of Mount Spur could have significant implications for nearby communities, including Anchorage. Potential impacts include ashfall, air travel disruptions, and health hazards related to volcanic ash inhalation. Residents are advised to stay informed through official channels and prepare for possible emergency measures.
Louisiana has carried out its first execution using nitrogen gas, marking a significant shift in the state's capital punishment method. The inmate, convicted of murder, was executed after a narrow Supreme Court decision allowed the procedure to proceed. This method, considered by some as a more humane alternative to lethal injection, involves inducing hypoxia by replacing oxygen with nitrogen, leading to unconsciousness and death. The use of nitrogen gas for executions has sparked debate among legal experts, ethicists, and the public. Proponents argue that it offers a painless death, while opponents raise concerns about the lack of empirical data on its humaneness and potential risks.
Tesla vehicles, dealerships, and charging stations have been increasingly targeted in acts of arson and vandalism across multiple states. In the latest incident, a Tesla Cybertruck was set on fire at a Las Vegas charging station early this morning, marking the third major attack in the past week. Police are investigating whether these attacks are connected to rising anti-Tesla sentiment following Musk's controversial political statements and involvement in government affairs. Authorities, including the FBI, are treating these incidents as coordinated acts of domestic extremism. Some experts suggest that the attacks could also be linked to labor disputes, as Tesla's aggressive automation and job cuts have led to backlash among former factory workers. Tesla owners are expressing concerns for their safety, with some reporting vandalism to their personal vehicles in public parking lots.
Pakistan has announced plans to conduct targeted operations against militant groups operating in Afghanistan, citing a recent surge in cross-border attacks. Officials claim that ISIS-K and similar groups have been launching deadly assaults from Afghan territory, prompting Islamabad to take preemptive measures. The Pakistani military has reportedly increased drone surveillance along the border and is coordinating with intelligence agencies to identify key militant hideouts. The Afghan government has strongly condemned Pakistan's plans, warning that any military action within its borders would be seen as a violation of sovereignty. Taliban officials have denied harboring militants and urged Pakistan to resolve security concerns through diplomatic channels. Despite this, Pakistan's leadership insists that it will take whatever measures necessary to protect its national security, raising tensions between the two neighboring countries.
Russia has resumed missile and drone strikes on Ukraine just hours after agreeing to a ceasefire. The attacks targeted critical infrastructure in major cities, including Kiev, Kharkiv, and Odessa, causing widespread blackouts and disrupting transportation networks. Ukrainian officials reported at least 12 civilian deaths and dozens of injuries, accusing Russia of using the ceasefire to reposition its military forces. The breach of the agreement has drawn swift condemnation from NATO and the United Nations, with leaders calling it a direct act of bad faith by Moscow. President Zelensky has urged the international community to respond with harsher sanctions and additional military aid. In response to the renewed aggression, Ukraine has launched counterstrikes, escalating fears that the conflict may intensify despite recent diplomatic efforts.
UnitedHealth Group has announced changes to its prescription renewal policies, making it easier for patients to access long-term medications. The new policy will extend prescription renewal periods for chronic conditions, reducing the frequency of required doctor visits for approval. This change is expected to benefit millions of patients, particularly those with diabetes, heart disease, and mental health disorders. The decision comes amid growing criticism from patients and healthcare providers who have argued that frequent renewal requirements create unnecessary barriers to care. UnitedHealth says the policy update is aimed at reducing administrative burdens and improving patient adherence to essential medications. However, some experts warn that reduced oversight could lead to medication misuse or overprescription in certain cases.
The Trump administration has announced plans to dissolve the CDC's HIV prevention division, shifting its responsibilities to state and local governments. Officials argue that decentralizing these efforts will allow for more tailored approaches to HIV prevention, but critics warn that the move could disrupt funding and essential services. Advocacy groups fear that marginalized communities, particularly LGBTQ+ and low-income populations, will be disproportionately affected by the policy change. Public health experts have condemned the decision, warning that it could reverse decades of progress in reducing HIV transmission rates. The CDC's HIV Prevention Division has played a key role in distributing resources, funding research, and coordinating national awareness campaigns. Several Democratic lawmakers have vowed to challenge the administration's decision, calling it a reckless and ideologically driven attack on public health.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. You can also follow us on our other socials, links in the description box below. Thank you again.